Welcome, everyone, to our first session of 6 in creating calm in the chaos. I'm here with Dr. Christina Caro, who's going to be bringing her take on mindset today. I'm Dr. Adam Bledsoe, and I'm going to be sitting here in the passenger seat, getting shown around the benefits, the uses, the hows, and the whys about mindset for creating calm in the chaos. So, Dr. Christina, help us out. Start us off with where mindset fits for you and what it's all about.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Adam. Super excited to be here and having this conversation. I want to start out actually just with the definition of mindset, because I feel like it really is powerful and sets us up for that kind of comprehensive look at what mindset is all about. So I'm going to read to you here the definition of mindset. It's a set of beliefs or a way of thinking that determines our behavior, our outlook, and our mental attitude. Right. So really, when you think about mindset in that kind of context, it really is the lens through which we're seeing the world. Right. Which is pretty, like when you start talking about it, it's like, holy crap, that's pretty powerful stuff, right? The lens, everything that you're taking in is being filtered through this mindset piece. And so it's incredibly important for us to know, where is our mind hanging out? Right.
Cool.
It's not something that's necessarily at the forefront of our conversations. You know, when we talk about health, we don't automatically think about mindset as part of that, but really how we relate to our relationship with health, our relationship with stress, our relationship with the world at large is ultimately marinating in this mindset piece. So it's hugely important for us to be talking about this. And, you know, I have a quote here from Einstein that I want to share. And it's, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change the way you think about it.
Nice.
So again, really putting you in the driver's seat with regards to, we don't always have the ability to change the external world that we're living in, right? Here we are in a pandemic. You know, we're here talking about creating calm in the chaos. We don't always have control over some of the variables that we're presented with, but we can control the relationship that we have with those variables, right? That's always have this ability to reframe, to reprogram, to change the way that we think about things. And so it really is such a powerful tool for so many of us to have access to. And I think, again, I think it is something that we think of as very complicated. You know, we think of that, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, bring us into that. If it's not complicated, sort of bring us some examples or point us towards the benefits so we can sort of see it in action.
Yeah. One really simple example that I think we all relate to is this sort of, you know, glass half empty versus half full kind of analogy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the pessimist's view of the world sees what isn't there. The optimist view of the world sees what is there. And, you know, that's not to say that there aren't bad things out there, that there aren't things that maybe we shouldn't be reframing. You know, I don't want to sit here and pretend that, oh, if you just reframed, maybe you could stay in that relationship that isn't serving you. If you just reframed, maybe you could stay in that job that's, you know, wearing you down. If you just, so I want to be careful that I'm not pretending that everything in our world should be reframed so that we can stay put. But I do want us to recognize that actually there are lots of things that we can reframe in order to live our best lives, in order to have quality of life, in order to have peace of mind, right? And if we're talking about creating calm in the chaos, and a lot of us are feeling stressed and overwhelmed and anxious, let's back up a bit. Let's think about where our mind is hanging out. Let's think about whether or not we're really overly consumed by what the media is constantly bombarding us with, right? How are we protecting our peace? How are we grounding ourselves during some of this turbulence? And so I really feel like this past year, I've really doubled down on mindset. Part of that has been pandemic related. Part of that has been that I actually joined a mastermind where I was hanging out with, you know, a bunch of clinician entrepreneurs for this year that were really challenging mindset and limiting beliefs in a lot of different pieces. And then also, you know, just personally with regards to a tragedy that I endured in the fall. I lost my brother tragically in a car accident. I've really had to just reframe and make peace with things in a way that I'd actually never had to do before. So again, it's really easy for some life events to kind of shift us from, a place of optimism to a place of pessimism. And there would be no better year for that to shift us around, right?
Right. Yeah. Knock us off our base.
Totally knock us off our base. So again, just really, if we can make mindset a priority, because we're all doing it, we're all thinking every day. If we can just be aware of whether or not the thoughts that we're thinking are serving us, helping us move forward, or actually holding us back, or causing stress, causing anxiety, causing chaos.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You're reminding me of a couple of things. Is that when you described it, like framing it in a positive light, there's a phrase for that in psychology called bright siding, which basically takes a bad situation and says, hey, look on the bright side, which is that negative use of that mindset piece, that negating the pain and trying to have us just push through it. Whereas the resiliency side of what I'm hearing you say is almost more like the opportunity to take something from that tough stuff, maybe not shine it up, maybe not throw a silver lining on it, but see it for the benefit it may offer, or see it for the growth it may offer, or find a new way to see it that serves you, even in the pain and even in the challenge. So I hear that piece big time. You kind of just dipped into it though, the why not? What are the bumps? What are the barriers to mindset when we're thinking about bringing this thing practically into our year, into our life?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, one thing that I talk a lot about actually is this survival mindset, right? And so when we think about our brain, and we break our brain down into three components: the reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, and the thinking brain. When we're in a fight or flight response, when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, we prehistorically, we automatically, what comes up for us is reptilian brain and mammalian brain, right? That's sort of what enhances our odds of survival. So that 70% of our brain, like that 70% of our brain's mass is made up of that thinking brain. And so if that brain is not activated when we're living in sympathetic, fight or flight mode, which is where the majority of us are hanging out the majority of the time, mm-hmm. then the odds are kind of stacked against us just from a physiological standpoint, right? But the beauty of the brain is that all we have to do is recognize that it isn't automatically turned on, and we can turn that switch on. As long as we agree that when we are feeling like when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're not feeling calm in the chaos, we're feeling completely uprooted and ungrounded, we just need to pause to be aware. That's step one. Be aware. Here it is. Sympathetic nervous system is activated. So let's think about that. What am I feeling? What's happening physically when I'm feeling that? What's happening mentally, emotionally? How am I feeling with regards to this? What behaviors am I engaging in because of this? This gives us like so much information that we can use to break the cycle, right? Or to become aware of the cycle so that we can then change patterns. So I think a lot of us are not necessarily activating, a lot of us are not thinking mindset because we're in that loop. We're in that loop where we're just kind of surviving, right? Where the world is just happening to us, right? And when we can pause and we can say, wait now, what if all of this is happening for me, not to me? Then I think it's such a simple thing. We change that one tiny little word and your whole world changes, right? Not to me.
That's a nice line. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's funny, when you were introducing that, I said to myself, well, that sounds easier said than done, just switching the mindset, right? But as you went into it, the key that I caught you say was pause. And then what's going on in my body, what's going on in my mind, and what's going on in my behavior. That's a bit more tangible. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything more in that department there? Like bring us a little further down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. So, again, I really do think that it comes down to that classic Tony Robbins quote, right? Where the mind goes, energy flows. And so if we recognize that we're not happy, or we recognize that we're feeling stressed, or we recognize that we're feeling grounded, let's give attention to that. Let's not ignore it. Let's give attention to it, because as soon as you give attention to something, that's when you have the ability to change it. So there isn't necessarily a deep dive that we need to do into our psyche here. It really is just sort of checking in with yourself on a regular basis. How do I feel today? What's coming up for me? And then, again, we can counter that. If what's coming up for you is stress or anxiety or fear or worry or depletion or defeat or overwhelm. Anyway, there's so many different things coming up for so many of us. Let's counter that. Let's set an intention of calm. I mean, I know it sounds saying, waking up today and saying my intention for today is to find calm in the chaos. It might take a while for you to actually find calm in the chaos. It might take 3 weeks of you saying that every morning. But if you keep planting that seed, that's what's going to show up at a certain point, right? The seeds that we're planting are what are going to show up in our world, right? This is why, this gratitude practice, when you start your day, when you front load your day with things you're grateful for, you start seeing more and more things that you're grateful for, right? It's just the way the mind works. And so I think so many of us, it's not that we have an aversion to doing this. It's just actually that we're on that wheel. The cycle is just kind of repeating itself, and we haven't paused to recognize.
There's that pause. Yeah, we're on the wheel. We need to pause. We need to ask. And then the last thing I heard you say was choose something different. Set that intention, calm in the chaos or peace or whatever it is that's your mind, and then allow it to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, totally.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, on our way out, do you have any more tips for the viewers now on the hows or any ideas that you want to leave us with today?
Yeah, I did write down a couple of questions, just things that you can think about, questions that we can be asking ourselves to sort of, again, gain more clarity around where we're hanging out, right? If we're hanging out in a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And I don't want to do a deep dive into that because I really feel like that could be an hour long or like a weekend long, webinar.
Right.
But a few things, a few questions to ask yourself is, when challenge presents itself, do you avoid it or embrace it? Another question to think about, when you run into obstacles, do you give up easily or do you persist in the face of setbacks? A third question to ask yourself, do you view effort as a waste of time or a path to mastery? And fourth question, how do you process criticism? Do you ignore it or learn from it? And one final question to help you recognize whether or not you're in a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. When others succeed, do you feel threatened or inspired? So again, I know that is kind of a lot of, saying like, oh yeah, I'll just get you to ask yourself a few questions. Those are a lot of questions, and they're kind of they're heavy questions too, right? Getting you to really—
They're great questions. You got me thinking as you were speaking.
Yeah. So, your mind is such a powerful thing, and the stories that you're telling yourselves and the things that you believe about yourself can either, be preventing you from change or can be supporting you and a catalyst for you blossoming into the version of yourself that you want to blossom into. And so I really feel like let's just create a little more time and a little more space for thinking about where our mind is hanging out, for thinking about the seeds that we're planting. And I think that, those questions are a little heavy, but if you wanted something kind of a little lighter and fluffier, I think setting an intention every day is a really good way to just start carving out your path, helping you navigate like a compass helping you, navigate through the forest. An intention is helping you navigate a busy day. And so again, if we're thinking about creating calm in the chaos, then I think that intention is your compass, right? So let's set an intention for calm or for peace or for joy or for gratitude or for anything at all. But something that resonates with you, something that's guiding you closer to where you want to be.
That was awesome. So thank you so much. That really brought mindset home for us. Listeners, take a note of what we included down in the notes there, or write those questions down for yourself, put them in your journal, and stay tuned. We're going to come back in a couple of days with a discussion about mindfulness. And thanks, Dr. Christina. That was great.
Thanks so much, Adam. Yes, looking forward to picking your brain about mindfulness soon.
Right on. See you soon.
Okay, ciao.